Welcome to the Retirement Wealth Podcast. We're so glad you could join us today.
Absolutely, Emily. It's great to be here. You know, planning for retirement can be such an exciting time, but it also brings up a lot of questions, especially when it comes to how to structure your estate for wealth transfer.
Right. That's a big topic. Many people don't realize how crucial it is to think about what happens to their assets after they're gone, and how it can impact their loved ones.
Exactly. It's not just about leaving money behind. It's about ensuring your wishes are honored and your family is taken care of. We'll dive into some key strategies today that can help make this process smoother.
Yeah, and we'll also touch on things like how to minimize taxes on your estate and the importance of having a solid plan in place. These are critical pieces that can really make a difference.
For sure. And let's not forget about the emotional side of things. Discussing your plans with your family can foster understanding and even bring peace of mind.
Right. It's all connected. So, whether you're just starting to think about your estate plan or you're looking to refine an existing one, we've got something for you today.
Let's get into it. We'll start by exploring some common misconceptions about estate planning. So, Emily, when we talk about structuring an estate for wealth transfer, it really hits home for a lot of people right now.
Absolutely. I mean, the world feels so unpredictable lately, with inflation, the market's ups and downs, and just this general sense of uncertainty.
Right, and it's like people are living longer, but they're also facing higher healthcare costs. That can really add stress when you think about how to pass on your legacy.
Yeah, and I've heard some folks say they worry about leaving their children with a burden instead of an inheritance.
Exactly. One client I had, let's call her Karen. She had been really focused on building her nest egg for retirement. But when she started thinking about her estate plan, she realized she hadn't considered how her assets would be transferred to her children. It's a big deal.
That's a great point. I mean, she worked hard for that wealth, and it's only natural to want to protect it for the next generation.
Definitely. And with Social Security changes on the horizon, there's more pressure to ensure that income is stable in retirement. If Karen's children are expecting some support from her, she needs to plan for that now, not later.
Right, and inflation is eating away at purchasing power. I mean, what you could buy 5 years ago with a certain amount of money is not the same today.
Exactly. So if she's thinking about leaving a lump sum to her kids, she's got to consider how much that money will actually be worth in the future.
That really makes you think. I often wonder about the emotional side of all this, too. People want to feel secure, They don't want to leave their loved ones in a tight spot.
Well, that's the crux of it, isn't it? Financial security can lead to emotional peace. When clients like Karen understand how to structure their estate properly, it lets them feel more at ease about their future and their family's future.
And I think many people underestimate the importance of having those conversations with their family, too.
Absolutely. I had a couple, let's call them Tom and Lisa. They had been married for decades, and they finally decided to sit down with their kids to talk about their estate plan. The kids were so relieved to hear their parents' wishes laid out clearly.
That must have made a huge difference in their peace of mind.
It really did. They realized that having these discussions early on not only brought clarity, but also strengthened their family bond.
Wow, that's powerful. So it's not just about the financial aspects, but the emotional connection as well.
Exactly. And with the market volatility we've seen, people are naturally more anxious about their investments. If they don't have a solid plan in place, it can lead to rash decisions that might jeopardize their retirement funds.
Right, and let's not forget about tax efficiency. As people plan for their estate, they don't always think about how taxes can impact the wealth transfer.
That's true. If Karen doesn't consider tax implications, her heirs might end up paying more than they need to, reducing what they actually receive.
So, it's really about looking at the bigger picture. It's not just about what you have today, but also how you can maximize it for your loved ones in the future.
Exactly, Emily. And with current economic trends pointing toward increasing taxes, now is the time to strategize.
And I think there's a lot of fear around healthcare costs, too. As people age, those costs can skyrocket, and if they haven't planned for that, it can really eat into their savings.
Right. We've seen cases where unexpected medical expenses have drained retirement funds. It's a harsh reality that many retirees face. They need to consider long-term care in their estate planning.
So it sounds like the urgency here is not just about planning for a legacy, but also about ensuring that your hard-earned money lasts through retirement.
You've nailed it. Karen's situation, for instance, made her realize she needed to incorporate long-term care insurance into her plan, which, can be a game changer.
And for retirees who are already living on a fixed income, that added layer of planning becomes even more crucial.
Exactly. Plus, by structuring their estate correctly, they can also create a smoother transition for their heirs, which means less stress during a time that's already emotionally charged.
So it's really about preparing for all these unexpected twists and turns.
Yes, and it's also about ensuring that their legacy reflects their values. Whether that's supporting charities, helping grandchildren pay for college, or simply leaving a financial cushion for their kids, it's all part of the equation.
So what do you think are some core strategies that people can implement right now to start structuring their estate for wealth transfer?
Well, let's dive into that. So when it comes to structuring your estate for wealth transfer, one of the most fundamental strategies is understanding how to allocate your assets effectively. A mix of stocks and bonds can really help in balancing risk and growth potential.
Absolutely, David. I've heard a lot about the 70-30th portfolio allocation, which is 70% in stocks and 30% in bonds. Is that still considered a good rule of thumb for retirees?
It can be, yeah, but it really depends on your personal risk tolerance and time horizon. For someone who's close to retirement, maybe shifting to a more conservative allocation, like 60/40ths, might make sense. It's all about preserving that capital while still allowing for some growth.
Right, and speaking of growth, let's not forget about tax-advantaged accounts like 401ks and IRAs. Those can be game changers when planning for wealth transfer.
Exactly. With a traditional 401k or IRA, you're deferring taxes until you withdraw the money, which is great during your working years. But when it comes to passing those assets on, you want to be aware of the tax implications for your beneficiaries.
So if someone inherits a traditional IRA, they have to pay income taxes on those distributions, right?
Yes, they do. And that's why many people consider using a Roth IRA for wealth transfer. Since contributions are made with after-tax dollars, your heirs can enjoy tax-free withdrawals, which can be a huge advantage.
That sounds like a smart strategy. Now, what about real estate? How does that fit into the whole estate planning picture?
Well, real estate can be a significant part of one's estate. It's often a major asset that can appreciate over time. However, you have to think about how it's titled. If it's in your name, your heirs might have to go through probate. But if you put it in a trust, it can bypass that process.
Wow, that's a big difference. So, setting up a trust could save your family a lot of hassle down the line?
Exactly. Trusts can simplify the transfer process and provide some control over how and when your heirs receive those assets. Plus, it can help with privacy, since trust assets don't go through public probate.
Speaking of control, what about annuities? How do they fit into this picture?
Annuities can be a great tool for providing steady income in retirement, but they can be complex. When it comes to estate planning, you want to consider how they're structured. Some annuities allow for a death benefit, which can be passed to beneficiaries. But it's important to understand the fees and terms involved.
Right, and that can get tricky. It seems like there are so many moving parts when it comes to retirement planning.
There really are, and that's where having a good withdrawal strategy comes into play, like the 4% rule. The idea is that you can withdraw 4% of your portfolio annually without running out of money for about 30 years.
That sounds pretty straightforward, but is that always a safe bet?
Not necessarily. The 4% rule is a guideline, but it's based on historical market performance. Depending on market conditions and your personal expenses, you might need to adjust that percentage. A bucket strategy could be a good alternative too.
I've heard of that. Could you explain how that works?
Sure. The bucket strategy divides your assets into different buckets based on when you'll need them. For example, one bucket for short-term needs, like cash for the next few years, another for medium-term needs, and a third for long-term growth. This way, you can ride out market fluctuations without having to sell investments at a loss.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's all about having that liquidity when you need it.
Exactly. And then there's the importance of diversification. You want to spread your investments across different asset classes to minimize risk. A well-diversified portfolio can help you weather market downturns.
I see. And how often should people revisit their asset allocation?
Ideally, at least annually, Life changes, market conditions change, and your goals can evolve. Regular reviews help you stay on track and make adjustments as needed.
Let's talk about tax savings techniques a bit. Are there specific strategies that retirees should consider?
For sure. One common strategy is tax loss harvesting, where you sell investments at a loss to offset capital gains. Also, being mindful of your required minimum distributions, or RMDs from retirement accounts, can help you plan your withdrawals more effectively.
RMDs can definitely catch people off guard. What's the current age for starting those?
The current age is 73, but it's important to check because it's changing. If you don't take your RMD, you could face a hefty penalty, up to 50% of the amount you should have withdrawn.
Wow, that's a big hit. So planning for those RMDs is crucial.
Absolutely. And don't forget about Social Security optimization. Timing your benefits can make a significant difference in your overall retirement income.
Right. I've heard that delaying Social Security can increase your monthly benefits. How much can it actually increase?
Well, if you delay benefits past your full retirement age, you can earn an increase of about 8% per year until age 70. That can really add up.
Wow, that's a pretty enticing reason to wait. It sounds like there are so many pieces to this puzzle.
There really are. But the key takeaway is to have a solid plan, be proactive about your estate structure, and regularly review your strategies.
Definitely. I think we should transition now to some common pitfalls that people might encounter while trying to structure their estates.
Great idea. There are definitely some traps that can catch folks off guard. So, Emily, when we talk about common pitfalls in retirement planning, one of the biggest mistakes I see is what we call sequence of returns risk. It's really a fancy way of saying that the order in which your investment returns happen can significantly impact your portfolio, especially early in retirement.
Right. I mean, if you have a market downturn right after you retire and you're relying on withdrawals from your investments, that can be really damaging, huh?
Exactly. I had a client, let's call him John, who retired in 2008, right when the financial crisis hit. He had a solid plan in place, but when the market dropped, he was forced to withdraw money from his investments to cover living expenses. That led to selling at a loss, which really hurt his long-term financial health.
That's a tough spot to be in. So it sounds like having a strategy for market fluctuations is crucial.
Yes! A diversified portfolio that can weather those storms is really important. And, having a separate cash reserve for the first few years of retirement can help avoid that pressure to sell investments at a bad time.
That's a great tip. Another thing I often hear about is people underestimating healthcare costs in retirement. I mean, it's a major expense, right?
Absolutely, and it can sneak up on you. I remember advising a couple, Mary and Bill, who thought their Medicare would cover all healthcare costs, but they didn't account for out-of-pocket expenses, long-term care, or even prescription drugs. By the time they realized it, they were facing some serious financial strain.
Wow, that's a real eye-opener. So planning for healthcare costs should be a big part of the retirement conversation.
Definitely. It's essential to factor in those costs and consider long-term care insurance or other saving strategies to prepare for those unexpected expenses.
I can see how that can be a real shock for many retirees. Speaking of surprises, what about taxes? I mean, a lot of people don't think about taxes when withdrawing from their retirement accounts.
Right, and that can lead to some pretty significant issues. I had a client, let's refer to him as Tom, who started withdrawing from his traditional IRA without considering the tax implications. He ended up bumping himself into a higher tax bracket, which meant he paid way more in taxes than he needed to.
That sounds frustrating. So it's really about understanding how withdrawals affect your tax situation, huh?
Exactly. It's important to have a tax-efficient withdrawal strategy. Sometimes it might make sense to withdraw from taxable accounts first. Or, even consider Roth conversions earlier in retirement to manage tax liabilities down the road.
That makes a lot of sense. And then there's the whole topic of asset allocation. I think it's something people don't always revisit after they retire.
Yes, that's a key point. I had another client, let's call her Susan, who had a very aggressive portfolio in her 60s, but by the time she retired, she didn't adjust her asset allocation to reflect her new risk tolerance. When the market fell, she panicked and sold her investments, locking in those losses.
Oh no, that can be devastating. So how often should retirees reevaluate their portfolios?
Well, I recommend at least annually, if not more frequently, especially in those early years of retirement. Life changes, market conditions change. It's important to ensure your portfolio aligns with your current goals and risk tolerance.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about Social Security. I've heard that many people claim it too early, thinking it's the best option.
Yes, that's a common mistake. For example, I worked with a couple, Mike and Lisa, who claimed their Social Security benefits at 62, thinking they'd get the most out of it. But they didn't realize the long-term impact of claiming early. They missed out on a significant amount of monthly income by not waiting until their full retirement age.
That's a real bummer. So what would you suggest for people trying to maximize their benefits?
Well, it's important to assess your individual situation. Delaying benefits can lead to higher monthly payments, which can be a game changer in the long run. It's worth running the numbers based on your life expectancy, health, and financial needs.
Such great advice. It seems like so many of these pitfalls can be avoided with a little planning and foresight.
Exactly. And, spotting the red flags early can make a huge difference. If you notice you're relying too heavily on one income source, or if your spending is outpacing your income, those are signals to reassess your plan.
That's super helpful. So for someone who might be feeling overwhelmed or uncertain about their current plan, what would be the next best steps for them?
Well, the first step is to get a clear understanding of your financial situation. Sit down and review your income sources, expenses, and investments. And if it feels daunting, working with a financial advisor can really help you create a tailored strategy that fits your unique needs.
That's a great point. It's all about taking that proactive approach, right?
Exactly. And remember, it's never too late to make adjustments. Even small changes can have a big impact on your financial future.
I love that. Taking control of your retirement planning can really lead to peace of mind.
Absolutely, and being informed and prepared is the best way to ensure a comfortable retirement.
Well, those are some invaluable insights today. Thank you for sharing these lessons, David.
My pleasure, Emily. Always happy to help people navigate their retirement planning.
And for our listeners, remember, it's about planning and being proactive. You've got this.
Yes, indeed.
Let's keep moving forward.
So now that we've talked about structuring your estate for wealth transfer, let's dive into some immediate steps you can take right now.
Yeah, I love that. What are some of those actionable steps?
Well, first off, take a moment to review your current estate plan, if you have one. If you don't, that's okay too. Just start by looking at what you've got. Make sure your wills, trusts, and beneficiary designations are up to date. Life changes, like marriage, divorce, or the birth of a child can affect these documents.
Definitely. It's so crucial to keep those updated. And for those who might not have a plan yet, what's a good first step?
A good starting point is to establish your goals. What do you want your legacy to look like? Who do you want to benefit from your estate? Once you have that vision, it's easier to create an actionable plan.
That makes sense. And I imagine there are tools out there to help with this process?
Absolutely. Websites like ssa.gov can give you insights into your Social Security benefits, which is a big part of retirement planning. Also, consider using retirement calculators from firms like Vanguard, Fidelity, or Schwab. They have great tools to help you estimate your retirement income and expenses.
Those calculators can be really eye-opening. It's amazing how different scenarios can play out based on small changes, right?
Exactly. And don't forget about tax software, too. It can help you understand the tax implications of your estate and any transfers you might be considering. Knowing how taxes will impact your heirs is super important.
Right, and that can help avoid any surprises down the line. What about financial planning apps? Are there any you recommend?
Sure. There are plenty of apps that can help you track your assets and liabilities. Apps like Personal Capital or Mint allow you to have a holistic view of your financial situation, which can be incredibly helpful when planning your estate.
Those sound useful. And for anyone feeling overwhelmed by all this, starting small is key, right?
Exactly. You don't have to tackle everything at once. Start by reviewing your portfolio quarterly. Just set a date on your calendar. Running retirement projections can also be a great habit to get into.
I love that idea. Just dedicating a little time regularly, can make a big difference over time.
And don't underestimate the power of education. There are fantastic books and podcasts out there focused on retirement planning. I'd recommend The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. It's a great read for anyone looking to get their finances in order.
I've heard good things about that one. And podcasts like The Retirement Answer Man can also provide a wealth of information, right?
Absolutely. It's all about finding resources that resonate with you. You might also check out Retire Inspired by Chris Hogan. It's motivational and gives practical tips.
Those sound like good additions to my reading list. And for someone who might feel like they're behind in their planning, what would you say to encourage them?
It's never too late to improve your plan. I can't emphasize that enough. Even small changes can lead to significant improvements in your financial situation. Just take one step at a time.
That's a great perspective. It feels more manageable when you break it down like that.
Exactly. And remember, establishing good habits now, like reviewing your plan regularly or educating yourself about your options, can pay off immensely in the long run.
So looking ahead, what's the next step once they've started implementing these tools and habits?
The next step is to continuously evaluate your progress, stay informed about changes in laws, tax structures, and financial products. The landscape is always shifting, and being proactive can make a huge difference.
I love that idea of staying engaged with your plan. It feels empowering to take control of your future.
It really is. So those are some practical first steps. Now let's bring this all together. Well, Emily, as we wrap up this episode, I think we can highlight a few key takeaways from our discussion on how to structure your estate for wealth transfer.
Absolutely, David. One of the first points is understanding the importance of having a will. It really lays the foundation for how your assets will be distributed.
Right, and then we talked about trusts, which can offer flexibility and privacy, helping to avoid probate. That can save your heirs time and money.
And don't forget about the tax implications we touched on. Being aware of potential estate taxes can help families plan better and preserve more wealth for the next generation.
Exactly. Also, reviewing beneficiary designations ensures that your assets go exactly where you want them, without any hiccups.
For sure. And finally, keeping communication open with family members about your plans can really prevent misunderstandings down the line.
It's so important to build that foundation of trust, isn't it?
Definitely. And, all of this planning isn't just about protecting assets. It's about ensuring peace of mind for you and your loved ones.
Well said, Emily. So, as you think about retirement wealth, remember that it's not only about accumulating assets, but also about how you pass that wealth on.
Absolutely. If you found value in today's discussion, we'd love for you to take a moment to like this episode and subscribe to the channel.
And don't hesitate to share your biggest takeaway or any questions you might have in the comments. Sharing this with someone who's planning for or already in retirement could really make a difference for them.
Yes, we want to hear from you. And next time, we'll dive into how to calculate your retirement corpus step by step.
That's going to be a great one.
It really will. So until then, take care, everyone.
And happy planning.